And away from Nigeria, Cameroon's 92-year-old President Paul Biya has been sworn in for an eighth term amid contested elections that triggered deadly protest. Biya, the world's oldest head of state, secured 53.7% of the vote against opposition leader Issa Tchiroma Bakary's 35.2%, according to official results. He took his oath Thursday in Yaoundé, pledging to address national challenges and restore peace. Bakary, a former ally turned rival, claims victory and accuses the government of rigging the election. Tensions ran high, with several deaths reported during protests suppressed by security forces. While some cities saw widespread demonstrations, daily life continued largely as usual in the capital. The government plans legal action against Bakary, accusing him of inciting unrest. And Tabenyang Etchu, Cameroonian intellectual and global affairs analyst, joins us from Washington to discuss this. Good afternoon, Mr. Tabenyang. Can you tell us, we see that Cameroon is currently facing some challenges. What are the major challenges Paul Biya highlighted during his inauguration speech?
Thank you for having me. I think it is obvious for everyone to see that after 43 years, there has been a catastrophic failure of the regime. If you look at infrastructure, it's practically moribund. There's hospitals are falling apart, the schools are falling apart, there's high youth unemployment. The majority of the population that is below 35 years old, about 60% of the population of Cameroon, really has no hope because of the high unemployment. A lot of youths with degrees from the state universities are practically in the streets trying to fight for survival. And if you look at even the disconnect with the diaspora, the regime has failed woefully. There is a yearning desire for change, but it seems practically that the opposition is not going to dislodge a 43-year-old regime through the ballot box because the system is so entrenched such a way that it would practically, even Jesus Christ comes in and run against Biya is not going to win.
So, Mr. Etchu, how has the disputed election and the contested victory, how has it affected, political stability and the public sentiment in Cameroon?
Already, if you look at the country, was already ensnared with two major crises, both in the north, where you have Boko Haram insurgencies, and then in the two English-speaking regions, the southern Cameroon, that there has been an ongoing war for the past 9 years, with massive refugee influx into the neighboring states in Nigeria, like Taraba, Cross River, Benue, and all the rest. And then now you're having the instability in the major cities in the French-speaking part of the country. The government has moved swiftly to try to squash any pockets of resistance after the declaration of the results. Major opposition voices are now fleeing the country. Tchiroma himself, nobody can actually pinpoint exactly where he is right now because the government is threatening to arrest him, and once he's arrested, he will be tried at the military tribunal and thrown in jail. Prominent human rights voices like Agbo Balanko, just recently there is information that he has fled the country. Same too with Barrister Doki Michel. So essentially, most of the voices that are against the regime or the continuation of the 43 years of misgovernance are being chased out of the country.
Right. So you just mentioned that most voices that are against the regime and asking for change have fled the country, including Tchiroma, who's claiming to be the true winner of the election. In all of this, what impact do such competing claims have on Cameroon's democratic processes? Do you think it's going to affect this regime or what?
I think if you look at what the outcome of the elections in 2018, I think he had more than 50%, I think up to 70%. This time around, he has 54%, which they are claiming, even though it's highly disputed based on some of the results that have come out from the polling stations by some members of the opposition parties and with what Tchiroma is saying. So I think he might govern differently, but it is hard for a leopard to change his spot. He's been there for 3 years. He has been intransigent and has not listened to opposition voices, even voices of reason, as to some of the people who are actually calling for legality on the way the election process is taking place in that country. The international community is looking really, it's focusing on Cameroon now because it is practically impossible for somebody of that age to run a complex society like Cameroon.
So considering the reported deaths amidst, the protests and the unrest following this election, how do you think that this government should address, justice and reconciliation in all this, knowing fully well that he's been holding power for 43 years?
As is the hope of many within the country, most had hoped that this time was going to be different, that they were going to factor in that there is a need for a transition. But they have just surprised everyone, for those who are still not surprised, that he really does not want to give power. But it will be wise for him to enter into negotiations with Tchiroma, given that Tchiroma, whether you like him or you hate him, had up to 35 or 36% of the vote. There's a lot of tension in the country. The ghost towns that have been called are having a serious impact on the economy. If they sustain the level of ghost town and civil disobedience that is currently going on in some of the major cities of the country, then the regime is going to be under immense pressure to reach out and make sure that there is a path forward to convince a lot of the people who have been disillusioned with the output of a regime for 43 years to actually believe that there is credible evidence that there's going to be change.
Okay, Mr. Etchu, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your view as to what's happening in Cameroon. We appreciate it. Thank you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.